Thank you for tuning in. We are a group of seniors that from the Schaumburg Bonn and from the Schaumburg area, and we meet monthly to discuss topics of interest from the past, the present, and we try to look into the future. I'd like to introduce our panel today.
I'm Harold Sterling. I've been a resident of Schaumburg for 37 years, and I'm the regional coordinator for the AARP Driver Safety Program.
And that Harold is our guest for today. Julia?
I'm Julia Gronkowitz. I reside in Schaumburg, and I've been going to the barn for the last, 20 years or so.
Hi, I'm Dan McNulty, and I've been a resident of Schaumburg for 21 years. I'm retired. My wife goes to the barn, and the one activity I have, main activity, I'm a volunteer with the Park District TV program, Schaumburg Heartbeat.
My name's Ed Grachowski. I'm resident of Hoffman Estates. I've been here about 10 years, and I go to the barn at least one day a week to help out, and sometimes maybe two. And then I work a couple days a week at the Kenny Young resale shop, and I'm retired.
I think we're all retired here, and my name is Lori Candle. I've been a resident of Schaumburg since 1972, and I enjoy meeting with each one of you. Today we're going to be discussing automobiles and licenses and safety of automobiles, and in our third segment, Harold is going to expand on that. When we think of automobiles, we think of roads. Though it is kind of interesting, roads began to improve not with the automobile, but with the bicycle. They were the ones that really started the roads to improve. By definition, an automobile is a wheeled vehicle that carries its own motor and transports passengers. Now, it was over in Germany that the first automobile by a man named Mr. Benz, Mercedes-Benz. He had the first automobile, and you could also look at him as having the first license because his machine made so much noise, it scared the horses, the people, and everybody around that he actually went and got permission to use his automobile on the streets. So he is a forerunner of the automobile industry. The automobile is a conglomerate. There is over 100,000 patents that the modern automobile has had. But it was Frank and Charles Duryea in 1893 that effectively began to use the automobile in the United States. But it was Henry Ford, as we all know, with his mass production, that actually brought the automobile down to the level of the common man. And with all of this happening, roads began to improve. And as the automobile grew, then there was a need for regulation. So licenses came into being, and the first driver's license was in the state of New York in 1910. And it was New Jersey that decided everyone had to have a license before they could drive. So things have progressed over the years. Now we're going to take a look back to when you first learned how to drive. How old were you? Who taught you? Were there any interesting experiences that you have had in learning? Now, I know that you grew up on a farm, Julia. How was your experience with driving? How did it start?
Well, I think I was about 12 when I got behind the wheel. But it was maybe when I was 14, my neighbors' boys came over and thought they should teach me how to drive correctly. Well, my dad bought a brand new car in 1929, a Chevy, no power steering, no automatic brakes, no air conditioning nor no heater, so that car was hard to drive. But I did learn, and I was Dad's runner because he needed help, you know, for fixing things or whatever. I would drive the car and was his helper.
Well, did you need a license?
No, I never had a license.
Confessions.
I drove for many, many years. I think for 4 years, from 14 until I graduated high school, and I was driving the car rather consistently. And then that's when I came to Chicago. I didn't have a car then, so I used a CTA. But when we were married in 1947, my husband insisted that I get a driver's license. And that was my first driver's license with a very modern car, you know, with power steering and power brakes.
Well, times have certainly
Oh,
changed
they
since
certainly
then.
have. You wouldn't believe driving a 29 Chevy.
Oh, I can believe it, although I wasn't around at that time.
We kept it until, I think, about 25 years. The car itself, it was a very good car. It was a very
that
good running
something?
car.
Well, how about you, Ed?
Well, when I first started to drive, I was about 14 years old. I used to go with my cousin, and he was a mechanic for a trucking company. And then he would say, hey, take this tractor, go park it in the corner somewhere or something, you know, like that. And I said, no, I says, I'll smash up a fender. He says, you'll be all right. Well, a tractor has 15 gears, you know. I put it in gear and it just went crawling along, you know. So I finally got it in. I hit the wall, and he says, what happened? I says, there was no air in the brakes because there was all air. He said, well, you're supposed to wait till the air builds up, then you know you should stop there when you got air, you know. I says, well, how do I know, cuz? So that's how I started to drive. And then I got my first car. It was a 1936 Oldsmobile. I was 16 at the time. So I asked Mom, I says, I want to get a car, Mom. She says, who's going to pay for it? We had 12 kids in the family. She says, I'm not paying for it. I said, well, Mom, I'm working newspaper trucks and blah, making money here and there. So she went to the dealer. I knew this guy, and he signed the papers for me. So I got my 1936 Oldsmobile.
On the installment plan?
Yeah. My mother says, go ahead. You know, she says, but you make one mistake and you're dead.
A threat.
Right.
And how about you, Dan?
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And
Python.
You might be able to tell from my accent, even I left there a long time ago, but it's stuck with me. I didn't really, it's hard for me to really remember exactly, but I know I was like 18. I probably out of high school when I learned to drive, because driving was not that important in Brooklyn, because I walked to school, and even high school I had walked to the train, took a train, and so basically most of the traveling by car that we did as a family when we went on vacation. My father drove upstate New York, you know. So when I did learn, which was probably, say when I got out of college, which would have been 1953, 54, rather high school, 53, 54, I learned, I think my father taught me, maybe my uncle helped me out, and I don't really remember, you know, too much about learning how to drive. I had a little problem like most people do, I'm sure, but once I got the hang of it, I was okay.
But most of the time you took transportation.
Oh, yeah, in the city, yeah. And
Okay, and we have to take a short break at this time. We'll be back to continue hearing about your experiences. Okay, thank you.